Back in the early 90s, actually in 93, I was principal of Cannon Beach Elementary School. And lots of different pictures that I saw of the 64 tsunami coming through, and it ripped out the bridge, did damage to the school and such. But so at that time, I started contacting some different also said is that that's what they assumed, and I went back to George Priest. And
so Doug and I spend a quick minute with you, and then we'll get in the car.
And Seaside again.
Great to be with you.
Yeah, now don't go any farther north. Just stay in this
area. Right here.
Right here.
Right here.
Ours is a very quick. Right?
Yeah, yours are excellent.
Okay. Let's get on out there.
So we some game last night, huh?
We were there.
All right.
Okay. We driving?
One more, yeah. Right here, Senator.
Okay. Right
here.
Yeah, so
that those schools will be inundated. The other piece with the 9.0 is I am so concerned about bridges. The bridges in our area were not built to withstand a 9.0, and so what this means is that our students in the schools, if they can escape the unreinforced masonry buildings that will collapse, they will try to get across where there used to be a bridge, and that bridge may not be passable.
the bridge is kind of right there. The water was 9 feet away from the corner of my plant.
Is that we have new maps up and down the Oregon coast now that show where to go, where is high enough, and you can tell on this map that you have to cross multiple bridges to get to high ground. And Broadway Middle School is in a little bit better shape than the other schools.
Where we just were.
Exactly, because to get to high ground here, all you have to do is hope that bridge that will get you to high ground is still standing. And so then they go up the hill, but still downtown is many, many blocks that way, and to relocate, thousands of people to get to high ground, that's definitely an issue.
The federal government has to do a better job of getting the science right. And he told me, for example, that the realistic assessments is you could have tsunamis that could go 70, 80 feet. And my sense is that the federal government, which has largely planned for tsunamis that would be about half that elevation, is once again making it harder for local communities like Seaside and our state to make sure that we have the best possible preparedness assessment. Is the federal government better do a better job of getting it right with respect to the science? Because if the federal government is only planning for tsunamis that are about half of what Doug and folks here in Seaside are talking about in terms of what they might be dealing with, everything else is going to go off kilter.
And we now know that we have heights going up to 80 feet of inundation that have actually happened in our area.
And Doug, it took you how many years just to get the update that I have to make sure Congress understands going forward? Didn't it take you like 4 or 5 years of just battling, trying to get something resembling a current scientific analysis?
Right. We could not find science, basically science on this topic. And
my view has always been that when you're talking about disasters, this has historically been considered an area where there is a federal role. In other words, we can talk about traffic lights here that we just went by, and these kinds of matters are generally local. But disasters are something where the country says this is not about Democrats, it's not about Republicans, it's not about somebody's political philosophy, it's about coming together to ensure that when our communities are facing life and death situations, we are there for them. So obviously the challenge is different in Seaside, which Doug pointed out to me is the most vulnerable to tsunamis of any place in Oregon. Seaside would be different, say, than a small community perhaps in the Midwest or a city on the East Coast of the United States. But disasters have been something where the Congress comes together and says, we've got to figure out how to get the policies right, both in terms of preventive medicine and what to do if you are faced with one of those disasters that puts our people at risk. Time, but there's nothing more valuable than getting out and actually seeing something like this. Otherwise, you're reading government reports and just trying to talk about issues in the abstract. So yes, this is very powerful to be able to see it, and particularly now there are going to be tough choices made on the federal budget, and this gives me some fresh detail in order to make the case for Oregon, and particularly this community that's so vulnerable.
It's an opportunity to actually see the places where students spend an awful lot of their time, to understand the construction of the buildings, to understand the location of the buildings, to understand the evacuation routes, so that any time you have a chance to walk people through what's actually in place and to tell stories of what students have said and what community members have said and their concerns. It's very, very powerful. We have a...
Yeah, I mean, inside, what's your inside? My kids love it. The big one right across from the golf course. Yeah,